Review Book 101's all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. So today I have my special guest. He's a serial entrepreneur, AI strategies, and the co-author of AI First Principles and the Wiser Method. No other than Mr. Anthony Franco.
Hello, hi Daniel.
Welcome to Book 101, Mr. Anthony. And can you please introduce more about yourself?
Yeah, I think you covered. I'm a serial entrepreneur. Started and sold six companies, two to public companies. Now I'm kind of dabbling all over the place. I have a podcast. You have that up. It's called How to Founder. I co-host with two other hosts, and then I'm working on something called AI First Principles and the Wiser Method. So you did a great job introducing me.
Indeed. And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. Let's empower our podcaster all over the world. And let's talk about the brutal truth of entrepreneurship as we talk about something that never tell you when you are starting your business. Can you tell us about this topic, Mr. Anthony?
Yeah, I actually have a list of 30 of them. I know we probably don't have time to go through all of them, but I'll start with the so essentially what I did is I captured all of our podcast. We've done over 100 episodes of podcasts with founders, and I've talked to thousands of founders and started compiling and looking at my journals and looking at what the common threads are that all entrepreneurs have said. And a lot of things that you'll know that will sound familiar, but I'm looking for the things that most founders or most people don't know about entrepreneurship. I think the most surprising one, or the first one I always lead with, is entrepreneurs don't re- or entrepreneurs don't recommend being an entrepreneur. Like, they won't tell their friends they should do it because it's so difficult and so hard and so lonely. Um, but um, Paradoxically, many owners who wouldn't recommend entrepreneurship also wouldn't choose another path for themselves. So I wouldn't recommend, and this is true for me, I wouldn't recommend it, but I don't know what else I would do. um, the next one, I can just keep going through them, or you can stop and ask me questions about them.
Yes, describe a specific moment when the sheer or crushing loneliness of being ultimate decision maker truly hit you.
The first time that I wasn't going to make payroll. And it happens a lot, actually, to a lot of owners. And I was like, okay, who do I talk to about this? I can't tell my employees.
For sure.
Can't tell my wife. Can't tell customers. You had nobody to talk to. So most owners conceal their struggle because they're uncertain who is safe to confide in. So I wound up making payroll. You figure out a way and make it time, but that panic of I don't have anybody to talk to.
For sure. Financially instability is a given. But what is the most personally humbling sacrifice you had to make with your own finances?
Um, that's a really good question. Certainly have had to make decisions where I pulled from savings and put my personal guarantees on loans that have caused anxiety and stress and undue burden on the family. So I certainly don't think I'm alone there. Um, but yeah, and a lot of entrepreneurs don't do the cardinal rule, which is pay yourself first. A lot of entrepreneurs, and I've done this, where I've taken no salary or low salary in order to get the business over a difficult hump.
Yes. So passion is often touted as a fuel. When did your passion for the idea clash violently with your hatred of the grind required to execute it?
Yeah, passion. passion's a fool's game. Chasing a dream is a fool's game. I actually just commented on something like this on LinkedIn where somebody says, quit your job and follow your dream. That's terrible advice. Because if you're looking for passion to pull you through, you're gonna find out real quick that that's not enough. A belief in what you're doing and the problem you're solving and your ability to do it is core critical. Questioning yourself all the time, and more importantly, the outside world questioning you, is part of the game. And those two things um, will stifle passion immediately. So you need determination and discipline and grit and delusion in order to carry you
Delusion.
through the passion and dream.
Delusion indeed. Founder's guilt is real. Describe a significant personal relationship with partner, family, close friend that was genuinely damaged or lost because of the relentless demands of your
Uh,
business.
well, I mean, the, for founders' guilt, and this is true for me, but every entrepreneur I talk to, um, every failure that you've made impacts more than you. It
Yes.
impacts the people that work with you, the people that live with you, the people that have to deal with you going through the difficult time. Um, but I think the hardest thing for any leader is to let somebody go. And so there's guilt in that because you brought the person on, you were essentially responsible for bringing that person onto the organization, and their failure is in essence your failure, and you not only have they let the company down, but you've let that person down. So I think it's a very real um, thing that anybody that's had to fire anybody, not just founders, has ever had to go through.
Very well said, Mr. Anthony. Very well said. Cash flow is king, but brutal. Share a story where chasing a payment or managing payroll cost you a genuine panic or force an ethical great decision.
Yeah, so uh, I'll answer. It doesn't cost me any. This is a funny story I tell about cash flow. There was a time in my company where we had a lot of customers paying late, and I
Yes.
wound up getting really creative on figuring out how to get payment from customers that were paying late. One of the customers, I started Googling and doing homework on what phone numbers I could call to get a hold of them directly. And I called a number that was associated with this person, and a woman answered, and I started saying, "Hey, do you know where Bob? Do you know where Bob is? We're trying to collect payment. He was supposed to pay us 60 days ago, and getting a little worried because we're going to struggle to make payroll if Bob doesn't pay." And the woman says, I know exactly where Bob is. And she says, I'll get a hold of him for you and let him know to get a hold of you. Not 10 minutes later, Bob calls me and says, dude, I can't believe you called my mom. I didn't know this was mom. But I wound up calling the guy's mom and telling on
Good strategy. For
him.
sure. So, Mr. Anthony, the overnight success myth is pervasive. What's one brutality, disappointing failure, or setback you experienced early on that nobody outside your inner circle knows about?
um, yeah, I don't know about I'm pretty transparent with my failures. So I don't know if there's anything outside my inner circle that everybody know. I'm pretty trans. Again, on my podcast, I kind of let it all go. The 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 so I had a company not have success that had investors, and the company had to wind up filing bankruptcy, and explaining the failure to investors was really hard. And letting people down that gave trust into the company and trust into me, and knowing that I let them down, that was really really difficult.
True. Totally agree with you, Mr. Anthony. Beyond just the stress, when did entrepreneurial or entrepreneur journey genuinely impact your physical or mental health in your way you cannot ignore it?
Yeah. So the notion of work life balance and entrepreneurship don't connect. So everything, especially when you're heat of the throw of growth or the throw of a problem, everything goes out the window. Your personal relationships, your mindfulness, and your exercise. Like there have certainly been times, many times in my career, where you barely sleep. You get up early, you work, you crank through the day, you eat horrifically, you don't exercise, and you go to bed late, and you repeat it until you crash or you've solved the problem and you have a time to reset.
Mm. Co-founder breakups are common and messy. If applicable, describe the moment you realized your core partnership was broken and what is the brutal truth underlying it.
Yeah, so there was. I've been really fortunate on co-founders and partners. Very, very fortunate. There is one circumstance where I was asked to come on as a co-founder in an organization that I thought had a really great product and a really strong leader that was a technical co-founder and looked at what was being asked of me. I was brought on to help them go to market and recognized really quick that I was not the right fit. As much as that was an ego hit for me, like I felt like I can bring any company to market. I looked at what was going to be required, and thought that the founder was going to my co-founder was going to do better having another go to market person in the job. It had nothing to do with the relationship. It had nothing to do with the product. It just wasn't. I recognized that I wasn't the right person for this organization, so I gracefully stepped away. So I think you can avoid uncomfortable those disastrous moments if you're very honest about what you're good at and what your co-founders are good at, and just having direct conversations, a lot of candor in what you can do and what your co-founders can do. Don't delay conversations, have them early and often, and I've been able to avoid them with that tactic, thankfully.
Honesty is the best policy, people. What is the most difficult no you had to say to a seemingly great opportunity or a potential client or even a personal need?
I'm trying to think of a difficult no. I don't say no well.
Say
so
yes.
so 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 the here's the thing. It's all for me. I know that the advice for most founders is you need to be very, very purposeful in your no and say no way more than you say yes. I always say yes with terms that allows the other party to walk away if the terms don't match. So there's never a no for me. It's yes if these conditions are true. And and so um so I, I can't think of a time where I said no. I can think of lots of times where I said unreasonable conditions, and the other party walked away calling me unreasonable. But it was like that. That's the only way I would participate. So I don't say no that often.
The market is ruthless, Mr. Anthony. When did customer feedback or rejection feel less like constructive criticism and more like deeply personal attack on your vision or capability?
That happens. So I don't take anything personally. That time when I had to inform investors that we weren't going to make it. The company wasn't going to make it and wasn't making it. Some investors came at me personally, calling me dishonest and claiming that I wasn't transparent enough. And you know, I don't know if from their perspective, they were probably right. I could have been more, in hindsight, I could have been more transparent, should have been more transparent about what was happening. But and they got personal. They called me dishonest, and from there, so I tried to take it like from their perspective. I could see how they saw that, and so what I did is I tried to give them, here's what was going through my head, here's what was happening, here's what I was thinking as these things were hurting the company. And here's why didn't think I was being dishonest. I wasn't being deceitful. So, a personal attack comes from anger or fear or frustration. So I try to be reflective about why they're being personal and try to explain the situation. Now, beyond that, if somebody wants to continue to be personal, that's on them. That's not on me.
Mr. Anthony, as a serial entrepreneur, a strategist, and an author, what are your short-term and long-term goals?
So my long-term goal, I was put on this planet to help entrepreneurs and help founders. So however I can help to do that through my podcast, through consulting, through teaching, and so my long term goals is to always just help. I believe founders are the pioneers of economic prosperity, and I just want to help them along their journey. Right now, I'm really focused on AI first principles, which is a methodology to think about, a philosophy on how to think about operationalizing AI and making AI operations a practice, and that along with the Wiser method. So those are my, I wouldn't call them short term, but short term goals is I guess I want to evangelize the AI first principles and the Wiser method. Longer term, always to help founders and help them be more successful.
Good luck to your goals, Mr. Anthony, and looking forward for more success. So what would be your piece of advice for those people out there want to be an entrepreneur?
Be comfortable in what you're good at, and be very self-aware of what you're not good at, and find somebody to balance you out, find people to help balance you out, and don't apologize for what you're weak at. um, Congratulate other folks for being strong in what you're weak at, and enable them to be that with their, which is what their strength, where their strengths are.
Thank you for your advice, Mr. Anthony, and it's really empowering. And can you recommend a book that influenced your journey?
Yeah. So the book that I would recommend that is directly related to that, Strength Finders, changed my life. Like, it literally did. The book is a very easy read. It gave me permission to suck at stuff, and then help me find what I was strong at, and then help me find other people that were strong were in the areas that I was weak. So highly recommend it for any leader or just anybody in general. If you're trying to get through life, focus on your strengths, not your weaknesses.
Yes, people, highly recommended. And thank you for that book, Mr. Anthony. Beyond the obvious financial risk, what is the hidden vulnerability like reputation, ego, or identity you expose by becoming an entrepreneur that you underestimated?
What is the vulnerability that I exposed? That's a really great question.
Thank you.
The I so early on, I've gotten a lot better at that. Early on, I thought I knew, I just knew what a good product was, and so I just needed to build a good product, and people would come and buy it. And ego, ego is, I think, every entrepreneur's biggest Achilles heel, and the market has an amazing way of humbling you. Uh, so it's okay if you get knocked down because you were egotistical at something, as long as you can recognize it and go, all right, I'm not going to do that again. But yeah, but ego for sure. So especially when I was starting out, and still now, I think I know something, and then somebody will just have a way. Murphy's law will have a way of humbling the crap out of you.
Mr. Anthony, taking investment is not always freeing. Describe a moment where the pressure or demands from investors made you feel like you're losing control of your company.
Yeah, so I've been lucky. So even in the company that didn't make it, that took investment on, I never felt pressure from my investors to make a decision that I didn't think was good for the company. However, I've talked to a lot of founders that have experienced that, and there's a couple of different ways that investors can make you make bad decisions. First of all, as an entrepreneur, I want when an investor asks you to do something that you think is wrong. First of all, really try to understand why the investor is asking. What's the motivating factor for that investor asking you to do it, and try to figure out maybe they're right. And after you do that, you have to realize that if that decision is wrong, it's still on your shoulders. It's still your fault, and you will be the one that's blamed. So you need to push back because you need to make decisions that you can defend, and you're willing to die on that hill in essence. Because if you're making a decision that an investor's telling you to make that you don't believe in, then you're still going to get blamed when it goes wrong. And by the way, you're not going to follow through on it very well because you don't believe in it. So to summarize that, it's like, first, try to figure out why they're making that ask and try to understand maybe that you're missing something. And second, if you don't think you are, stand your ground.
Yes, be humble, people. Humility, humility indeed. Even after achieving significant milestones or success, many founders feel a sense of emptiness or is this it? Have you experienced this, Mr. Anthony?
Yeah, that's very real. There's entrepreneurship's a roller coaster ride. So you have these really low lows and these really high highs, and the key to not losing your mind is to being able to regulate those emotions. The and where I have landed was chasing. It's good to have goals. It's good to chase something. It's good to have a destination, but recognize that the journey is the point is the journey, and to learn to enjoy the journey, learn to enjoy the process, learn to enjoy the work, and celebrate the wins, but don't put your entire identity in the win or the loss. Put your identity in the path that you're taking to get there, and that helps to that once I recognize that, right? Once I recognize that, I those 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 empty feelings kind of went away.
Very well said, Mr. Anthony. Very well said. Beautifully articulated. And before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and of course, my book 101 review in fifth season too, comedy 101 in second season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well, geography 101 in fourth season, and my baby podcast, Law 101 and Mental Health 101, Love Letters in its third season, Movie 101 Review and Music 101 in its fourth season, and Science 101 and Sex 101 in its first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcasts. Mr. Anthony, knowing everything you know now about the brutal realities, looking someone dead in the eye who has stable job and a family, would you honestly still tell them to take the leap into being entrepreneur?
So no to the leap, baby steps. So you don't need to, if you have a stable job and a family to provide for, the odds of you making it by leaping out of entrepreneurship and leaping out of your job and into entrepreneurship, it's less than 1 in 100, a lot less than 1 in 100. So take baby steps. First, Do a side hustle. If you have a product or a service that you want to offer, try to do it in the margins, nights and weekends. Um, for sure, see if you can sell something. See if you can get a customer to open their wallet before you take the leap. Um, there are there's a lot of stories out there that entrepreneurs that did that and made it. What never make the paper, what never makes Silicon Valley is the thousands and thousands of entrepreneurs that do that and fail. So no, don't take the leap. Take it in baby steps. Do it a little bit at a time until you are certain that you can provide for your family as an entrepreneur, and then it's safe. Do it when it's safe to make the jump.
Baby step indeed, Mr. Anthony Franco. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support your advocacy, your business, as well as your podcast itself?
Yeah, just you can follow me. Just go to howtofounder.com and you can follow me on LinkedIn there and follow our podcast, or just go to aifirstprinciples.org and connect with me on LinkedIn and tell me where I'm wrong.
Definitely, we will connect with you, Mr. Anthony. Yes, people, let's support Mr. Anthony Franco, because if you support him, more and more and more empowering podcasts to come, more and more empowering coaching to come, and for sure, more and more empowering people to come. So, Mr. Anthony, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Daniel. Good to be here.
More to come, people. See you soon.